Hello. C4. That's me. E5. Knight C3. Knight C6. G3. F5. Immediately out of my comfort zone. E4. Put pressure on that pawn. Bishop B6. Did he really play Bishop B6? Doesn't sound right. No, yeah, sorry, I jumped ahead. Yeah, no, I went E4, he went Bishop C5. I mean, he didn't defend his F-pawn, so I say, okay, E takes F5. That's better, yeah. He does B6 in a sec. I go Knight E4, attacking his bishop. So he goes to Bishop B6. That's how he gets there. Bishop E2, doubling up on his H5 pawn. He goes H4, getting out of danger. Well, I still like the idea of getting a check on his king, so I go Bishop H5 check, and he goes King F8, getting out of danger. I go G4, not taking that pawn, but protecting my forward pawn there. Sort of build up some pressure around the king. Always had this feeling like there's something, I've got something there, you know? Where am I? I went G4. He goes D5. I go C takes D5. And then queen takes C5. And now his queen is in a wonderful position. I go Queen A4, protecting my knight and threatening, getting the queen into the action. I tried really hard to be very active, which is completely opposite of the game yesterday. But it just felt that, it was an attacking game. He was going to put the pressure on me. I was going to counter with my own pressure. He goes Bishop D7. I didn't necessarily have to move my queen right away, but I thought, well, Queen A3 check. Why not? Now I'll just pressure on the dark squares instead. He goes Knight G to E7, blocking. And I go D3, because now my knight was unprotected. He goes Knight D4. Very strong position for him. Oh yeah, threatening the royal fork on C2, which would have hit the queen, rook, and king. So I move my king over, King D1. Wild game, eh? Look at this. And then, so he goes C5, blocking the view of my queen. Now maybe I should have gone B4 at this point, or done something better, but I thought, okay, I'm going to move my bishop to G5, and then I will deal with that pawn that's blocking my queen's vision after. Because then, really putting the pressure up in that position. And then he goes knight takes F5. I was worried about F5 being taken because the pawn, the G4 pawn, was protecting the bishop. So I couldn't use it to take back. Otherwise, I would lose that bishop to the rook. So, but I thought he would take with the light square bishop. Instead, he takes with the knight. I go bishop G6, getting out of danger and renewing some new threat, He goes knight D6. And I focused entirely on the right side of the board at this moment, totally neglecting my queen. I go H3. Instead of going F3, I was worried. I looked for a bit about his knight doing a knight sacrifice, taking that and then coming in with his light square bishop on the right. So I go h3 instead to protect on that side, and I completely miss knight 6 to b5, and that is a complete queen trap. I knew it right away, and if I went to a4, he would have done a discovered check attack on, you know, he would go knight c3 check, exposing the attack of his light square bishop against my queen. So that was one of the options. And then, but I go queen c3. He's trapped. There's nothing I can do. I couldn't counterattack. I went to c3, so then when knight takes c3, I can take back. B takes c3, and then he has to move his knight, which of course isn't a big deal, but scrambling for tempo. That's what the whole game was. Very tempo, you know, very tight. No time to do anything. Knight e6 he went. And then I go c4, attacking his queen. I've sort of deflated at this point. Didn't even realize that the d3 pawn was unprotected. So he scoops that up. Queen d3 check. And then I go bishop d2 to block. And he goes queen f1 check. And I go bishop e1 to block. And he goes bishop a4 check. And I go king d2 because I'm running out of options. Rook d8 and king e3. And I was still even hoping at this point. I never give up hope. But then, of course, rook d3 is checkmate. And that's how he does it. Phew. I'm sweating because I had to close my windows to record this. And it's hot in here, so I'm going to stop the video now. And now I'm 1-0. I have 1 point on round 2. And my next game is in a little bit, so I'm going to try and not sweat my shirt out. And, you know, see you then. Okay, great, awesome, cool, good times.